Hello there. I promise this is going to be the last video that I do with regards to this diesel heater, but I'm doing this video because as far as I'm aware there's no actual videos on YouTube detailing how to use this type of controller, the upsides and the downsides. I know there are videos out there from the manufacturers, Sunster, Hcalory. They've put out they're kind of like AI generated videos, but I've yet to see a video of a human actually talking through this type of controller, and that's what I'm hoping to do in this video. Now let's start from the very beginning and let's make an assumption that you've just fitted this unit. Now the instructions will tell you the first thing you need to do is prime the system, and you do that by pushing and holding this button here. You hold it in for about 6 or 7 seconds, and eventually the LCD display will power on and is meant to go into a priming mode. Now that didn't work for me. I tried it about 7 or 8 times. I would get the LCD display to come on and just nothing would happen. There was no ticking. I would leave it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, nothing would happen. And during that time I looked on the internet and I discovered that I wasn't alone. Other people had a similar issue, and also that this isn't perhaps the best way to prime it. What I read was the best way to prime the system is to actually just tap the on button there and just wait, just allow it to do its thing, and it will automatically prime. If you do this way, I have read of people having their heaters flooded, and that this way is just an easier and better way to do it. So I'm going to hit the on button now, but you see this here is not, it looks like it's on, but that is not an LCD display. There's no energy going into this. Some controllers, the moment you connect power, the LCD display is on and you can't actually turn it off. This one you can, it is powered down, it's using no energy, so that's a good thing. But if I just power on here,
start heating.
You see, and I'm gonna put I don't know what the temperature's on now. Yeah, let's leave it on 9 in fact. Yeah, with it powered on, what will happen is if this is your first power on, ignore the numbers for the time being. I don't want the fan to kick in because you won't hear me so well. If this is your first power on, you'll hear the fan start to rotate, and leave it a minute or two, and eventually you will hear the ticking of the diesel pump. You'll hear it tap, 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 and that's priming. Now, if like me, your vehicle is particularly long, and it might take a while for that priming to happen, but the tapping, it will last a minute or two, and then the diesel heater will say I've got no fuel, and it will shut down, and you'll get an error that says I think it's EN01. It's 01 anyway, and that's to say that the diesel heater itself hasn't got any fuel, so it will just shut down. And that's fine, because all you need to do is just start it again, and it will continue to push the diesel inch by inch, tap, 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 forward towards the diesel heater. I think I got 4 times I had to hit the power on until eventually that diesel, inch by inch, made its way to the diesel heater, and then we were cooking with gas. The moment the diesel reached the heater, that was fine. So that's how I primed mine, just using the on button there. Now when you rotate this, you see you can adjust the temperature clockwise and anti-clockwise. That is my preferred way, but I know some people, they prefer the power way. You see these bars at the bottom here, you just push that button in and it will switch to a power mode, and when you rotate it you'll see the lines go across the bottom here. But I don't want to turn it up too much, and I'm going to put it back onto temperature mode because I don't want the fans kicking in. So that's now back on temperature mode, and I'm going to put the temperature down. Now on the power mode, there is a problem in as much as it gives out too much heat. It really does. you can, let's say for argument's sake, you come in and it's freezing cold and you want the heat to be up here somewhere, so you just crank it round, you turn the heat up, and the heater will do what it's meant to do, what we get them for. It will get the vehicle hot, but then you turn it down all the way to the bottom if necessary, and the fan will die down, the fan will soften, it will just be ticking over nicely, but the heat coming out the vent is still hot, and the temperature within your vehicle will over time continue to rise. Even though it's just a gentle sort of blow of the fan, it's still hot, and the only way of cooling it down is basically opening the doors, opening the windows to let some cool air in, and that obviously isn't the most efficient way of doing things. So I don't personally like this power setting mode. I prefer the temperature mode, but see, that was on power mode, now it's on temperature mode, and I'm gonna turn that down. It seems to respond better, but again, it's not without its faults. Again, let's go back to the same scenario. It's cold, you set it to, let's say 20 degrees, ignore this number for the time being. Let's say it's freezing cold, you set it to 20 degrees. And it's 10 degrees now, so yeah, the fan will kick in, it will start to do its thing, and it will start to throw out heat, and it will go up to 20 degrees, and then you would think that it would calm down, and the fan calms down when it hits that 20 degrees, but it's still throwing out heat, and over time the temperature will rise to 21 degrees, 22 degrees, 23 degrees, 24 degrees. It will probably go up to 25 degrees before the heat from the vent starts to reduce. And then it will go extreme the other way. It will drop back down to 20 degrees, and then it will go to 19, 18, 17, 16 degrees before this controller realizes that it needs more heat, and then it will start throwing heat back out. So it's not that ambient, it's not that great. It will go over, at least on my controller, it will go, if it's set at 20 degrees, it will go all the way up over time to perhaps 25 degrees before it starts to roll back, and that isn't great. Now, I have found a way around that. There is meant to be this start-stop technology where the heater, it just reaches a temperature and closes down completely. That is what I wanted. Now, the instruction manual will tell you that it is F9. But if I push and hold this setting key here, this is how you get to it. You push and hold that. You see it's gone to F0 here. And that is how you set the time. In fact, I'll show you how to do that. You just click on that, you see that 08 flashes, and you can adjust the time there. Push it again to select it, and it will flash the minutes, and you can adjust that. Push it again to select it, and then push and hold the settings key to save it. That's fine, that works, no issues. Now, let's go back into the settings key here. See, it's got F0 here. We're going to go to F1. This is to do with the timer and putting it on a timer. And F2, F3, it's the same sort of thing, on for a period of time. F4 is language. I've got English. I don't want to change that. Right, F5, this is an interesting one. This thermostat, when I got it, it was not that accurate. It was 3 degrees higher than what it was. You get these, you get these cheap things here. They cost pennies, but they're always very accurate. This here wasn't accurate, so I suggest you get a reliable thermostat, and you tap that, and you basically knock 3 off or add 3 on to whatever it is to get it to where it needs to be. Push it to select, and then push the settings key and hold it to save it. But I'm not going to go out and back in again, so I'm just going to roll on to F6. I've got 30 litres there. This is to do with the fuel pump, and you push to select it, depending on what fuel pump you've got. I think most of these diesel heaters, most, not all, but most are set to 22U. Mine's certainly 22, but you can tap that, rotate it. In fact, I might as well do it. You can tap it to change it. I think they're the 3 sizes of fuel pump that get used. Now I'm going to go to F8, and this is where the magic happens with regards to the on-off technology. You see here I've got it off. Now I could change that to on, tap it and then rotate it to on, tap it again, and now tap it to save it. And I'm going to show you a video of this working, because first thing this morning I did do a test to see how it worked, and this seemed to work better, but it's not without its fault. Unselecting that can be a bit of a pain, and the way that works is we're 11 degrees in here at the moment. If I don't want to turn it up because I don't want the oh, if you see, it's too late. But you see there, it worked. It worked. I think it was 11 degrees. I set it to 8 degrees, and it turned itself off. So that worked. So that worked fine. So here's this start-stop thermostat technology working in reality. It's currently 9 degrees here, and I'm going to set it to 10. I'm going to set it to 11 degrees. Everything's off and going 2 degrees north of what it is. This system here, it should power on. It takes a while. Remember, I've just set it to 11 degrees. There you go.
Start heating.
So that's now going to come on, and it's going to try and make its way to 11 degrees. And if I now turn that down, let's say it's got to an ambient temperature. Ignore the numbers just for the time being. This is just a demonstration. If I now turn it down, back down to, that's as low as it will go, is 8. That there, it's 1 degree beneath. It should power off. Again, it might take a little while. There you go.
Stop heating.
Now you think everything's hunky-dory. That's how it's meant to work. It kind of keeps it around that that temperature. But things are never that simple or straightforward, are they? If we go into the settings menu, push and hold that, and we go up to the F8, remember this is where the magic happens. You see there, it's on. If I click that to change it to off, click it again to select it, and now push and hold this button here to save it, you would think that that would be end of the story, and it might be. We'll have to wait and see. Push and hold that. See?
Start heating.
It hasn't. It's kicked. It's kicked back in. I haven't managed to turn it off, and this is, I guess you could call it a quirk. I'm going to have to do it again. Let's say you're going away for, a few days, and you don't want the heater to be on. F8 is the one I want. You're going away for a week. You see, it's back to on. It should have been to off. I'm going to select it. You've seen me select it. It's off. I'm now going to try and save it. Right, that time it worked. There have been times it's taken me a dozen attempts to do this. Push and hold the settings again. Let's go back round to F8, and you'll see it off this time. You see it says off. So it worked that time. I think it's just a little quirk, but if you're doing it, you need to check it, because if you are going away, you don't want this thing to be turning on and off. And remember, it's when it powers on, that's when it uses up a lot of the energy, particularly if it's cold and it needs to go through a warm-up cycle. It's going to use a a fair amount of energy. This time it took me just one attempt, which isn't too bad, but just be mindful of that. Oh, I just forgot, when you've got this start-stop thing activated, the screen doesn't go off. The LCD screen, it stays on. And that is something that's, it is working for me. This is how I like to set it up. But you see you've got the Wi-Fi connected here, and I think that this yellow one here is to say that it is selected. Now I'm going to pair with the remote, and this is something I can't actually do it, give you a full demonstration because I've already paired mine. But basically what you do is you push the settings and the power button at the same time and you hold them in, and then you'll be met with this screen here, and it's 08 is the one that you're looking for. You're rotating this around until you get to EN08. You see it says there RTE, and basically what you do is you just push that in, and then you'll be met with P1 here. Now mine's not going to do it. Mine's not going to do it because mine's already paired. You see that sign there, and when it says P1, what you do is you work from top left and you work your way round, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. It will say P1 there. You push the plus, and that P1 will change to P2 the moment you push the plus button. When it says P2, you push the minus, and the moment you push that, it will flash here to P3, and then you push the menu button, and the moment you push that, it will switch here to P4, and the moment it switches to P4, that you then push the on-off button here, and then that's it, you're done. That will be paired. I can't do it because I'm already paired, but then to get out of this menu, instead of pushing and holding that button, you push and hold the or you tap the power button like that, and it returns back to the main screen. Now in terms of the remote, it is pretty basic. You can basically turn the heat up or down. You can power off, and you can switch between power mode and temperature mode, and that is pretty much about it. But I guess it's quite handy if you don't want to get out of bed in the morning and you want some heat. Just you can power it on and get some heat there. Right, next I'm gonna talk about the app, the phone app. It's called Air Heater BLE. I'm going to touch on this. I don't want to have my code up here, so I'm not actually going to do it. But this one here is basically, if you download the app and then open the app on your phone, it's important, certainly on iPhone, you'll get permissions. I think it's to allow location, and you need to allow that. And then the app will open, and what you do is you push the rotary knob here and the settings key, you hold it in, and eventually, in fact I'll do it down here, eventually it will say BLE like that. And then what you do is on your mobile phone, I want to come out of that now. Yeah, on your phone, you'll see connect device. You'll see, I think it's the top right off the top of my head, or possibly top left, connect device. And then for me, it just connected. It was easy peasy. It simply just connected. Now I know there are some people, they're having problems with this. I can only think they're not allowing permissions, or it's slightly different on an Android device. I know that updates on Android or Apple can affect the apps, so maybe it's something to do with that. But connecting to the app is something that was relatively easy for me. Right, overall I am very happy. I'm over the moon, in fact, with this diesel heater. I'm really happy. But I'm hoping that I've showed you there are some quirks with regards to this diesel heater. With this controller, there are some things that I just think could be done better. You know, to have that more sort of less violent sort of temperature mode, I think would be a good thing. And also, I mean, look, even though I've calibrated the temperature, it's still not great. And these are just cheap cheap thermostats that are always bang on. So there are some improvements that could be made. I know there are different controllers. There's upgraded motherboards that you can put in, upgraded controllers. But this, it does the job. You know, if you're cold and you want heat, these diesel heaters, even these controllers, they will do the job. And overall, I'm very pleased. Now, I did do an entire install video, the last video I done of this. So if you're unsure how to fit this, if you've got a motorhome, I mean, I've got a 2004 Hcalory motorhome and I tapped into the main fuel tank. If you want to see that video, it's my previous video. I'll try and leave a link in the description. But yeah, overall very happy, but I'm hoping I've given you something that's not AI generated, not a computer generated voice, or not text that flashes up on the screen and you've got to keep pressing pause. But this is how I'm working it. That F8 I think has been a game changer for me. There's no F9 on mine. Yours might be slightly different. Yours might work slightly different. And as far as I'm aware, I've read of people, you know, something that might work for me on this controller it might not work for you on another controller. For instance, the Prime. I know it's worked for some people, but it's one of these things that there are many people it doesn't work for, or it doesn't work well for. But I think, you know, such a cheap price, cheap heat in our motorhomes, I'm happy to suck it up. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much.